Hello and welcome to BeamNG.drive. Today I'm taking a look at the Toyota Celica GT4. And let's start by taking a look at the outside, and this is how it looks like. This is the original rally livery as well. Quite cool. I really also like the front rally headlights. They are quite nice. This was the outside, a quite clean look. And if you go on the inside, we have a standard rally racing interior, quite simple, roll cage. Now this mod was a bit old. Is a bit old, and it recently received some love. For example, now the mirrors work, hinges as well, but it has some small issues. For example, you can see the texture of the livery clipping on the inside and the low resolution of the rear, but that's nothing problematic for this car. Now let's go back on the outside and dwell up of this quite wide and fine and funny dirt track, because it is a very good vehicle to drive in my opinion. I'm not an expert of rally car, but it has the typical snappy behavior of those vehicles, and it is very powerful in my opinion. It has 255 horsepower and it weighs 1.3 tons, but the power delivery, it's so good, it feels a lot more powerful than it is. So that's also to be careful about, because you can easily overshoot corners and jump out of the track. That's not good, but it is a very pleasant vehicle to drive in rally circuits. Now, a downside of this car is that the body panels are quite soft, some of them at least. For example, the front bumpers and the front rally lights, they easily fall off if you race this car quite hard, but not even that hard. For example, now I don't see the headlights anymore. Let's look back quickly. Okay, they're just buckled a little bit, but it can happen almost always that if you drive a rally vehicle, you bump around the track because it's dirt and off-road, so you risk losing the front bumper and the rally lights almost always during a rally stage. So be careful, because if they get stuck under the car, they can cause troubles. Now they are still attached, but they are quite damaged. That's not good, but they are still there at least. You can see I'm climbing quite easily. Now this surface is also slightly iced, if I remember correctly. So you can see no problem doing this climb, and I was going pretty fast. So this car is quite powerful and it looks good and it is good to drive. So I really like this mod. Okay, no, I was about to finish the lap. Okay, that's my fault, but the finish line was there. So I crashed a little bit earlier than I would have liked. But let's take a look at the damage. I still have the front bumper, of course. I said you always lose it, and now it's still attached, but that's always me. And the damage is not that much in this situation, so I still think I can drive out of this ditch. Maybe I can finish the lap and then crash how I want. Okay, let's try it. I did serious damage to the front wheels, but I should be able to climb out. Okay, bye bumper. That's nice, so it doesn't get stuck below the car. Okay, and then back on the track and I slide around. Perfect. Quick J-turn, and let's keep completing this lap. Okay, I'm starving of oil, but I don't care, because I'm about to destroy this vehicle even more than it is already destroyed. And with steering damage, it's quite difficult. Okay, this was the lap. It's quite difficult to drive on ice, so let's hopefully drive straight enough to get some serious speed and hopefully jump on airtime would be low. Okay, that was not what I had in mind, but some more damage. I lost the rear bumper. Maybe. That's a shame. I want to do serious damage to this car, please. Come on. Maybe on the trees? Okay. Okay, that's fine. That's enough. Let's not lose more time. And the damage is not the best looking damage around. As you can see on the roof, it has some triangles, but at least it is quite stable. It doesn't have too much jiggling and soft parts that break in a very unusual way. So I would say that overall this is quite a good vehicle. Now let's see what it has to offer. This mod comes with 49 configurations, and if you were wondering why I did try a rally configuration first, it's because this mod doesn't offer standard city vehicles, it's all racing configurations. They are rally configurations, I was using the rally variant, highlighted. There are snow configurations, and street rally configurations. Basically, the difference is it's just the wheels, because deliveries are the same, the setup is the same, because if I click and highlight vehicles, you can't see anything, you can't see specs for the cars, so it is the same car with just different tires for different environments. However, they look quite cool, I really like these paint jobs. And sometimes, for example, Street Rally Kicker and Street Rally Kicker variant, the only difference I noticed is the rims. For example, this has 5-star rims, and this is a 6-star rims. I don't know what's the real name, but you understand probably, hopefully, what I'm saying. So, this is maybe too much configurations, but I still like it. You have a lot of choices of liveries, and it looks quite good. However, this mod tickles a small subconscious part of my brain, and especially with the street rally versions with the headlights, it remembers me of some game I used to play, not often, but I used to play it, with this style of cars racing in the night. I'm not sure if I'm having hallucinations or not, but I have this faint memory. I'm not sure about that. I tried to investigate, but I didn't find anything. So maybe I'm crazy, maybe I'm not. Telling me if I'm not the only one with this kind of memory. But it looks good. And now let's go and see another configuration. And now I am in Caldera Bay. I have a Toyota Celica GT4 Street Rally configuration with a nice yellow kicker livery. This is how it looks from the outside. Quite clean looking, I really like it. And let's do a lap of this unusual track, because it is quite wide, and that's a good thing. It is quite dangerous, however, because it has grass on the sides, with almost no barriers through all the lap, which is dangerous, because there are also trees and big drops, and also big elevation changes, which are quite interesting in my opinion. I love elevation changes. If you saw my Autolaps challenge on my track, there are quite a few of them, and I like them. But let's focus on this car, because the biggest difference is the tires, because it's still all-wheel drive, 255 horsepower per 1.3 tons, which is the same as before. However, this is quite understeery in my opinion, which is not what I was expecting. But I am the master of understeer. I can understeer even the drift configuration, so maybe it doesn't count, but sometimes it can be annoying, because you would expect a bit more front grip to steer the car, but there isn't in some situations. Also, if you go on 2 wheels, there is a risk of grip rolling, so be careful with internal corners curbs, because if you jump your car in a tight corner, you can roll it if you're not careful. Now, this is the only section of the track with a barrier, which is a shame, because I can't see the sea. And as you can see, the understeer here was quite big. Still manageable, but can be annoying in some situation. Now, I am not the best at this game or driving in general, but you can see the understeer being annoying. Now, this is a big drop, a big downhill section before the finish line, and this was a lap on a street rally configuration. And now let's, big smash on a concrete side. Okay, of course I stopped in a bush. Let's go out of said bush and let's take a look at the damage. Now, this is a bigger crash than I did before, so the car is absolutely crumpled, and in this case I'm not having any particular issues. There are some lower quality parts broken. For example, this pillar here has an ugly triangle, but I did this crash a few times and I had some jiggling around, not instabilities, but the car starts vibrating on its own even if it's standing still. So sometimes it can have these weird interactions behavior, but that's a huge crash. Look at the position of the seats compared to the dash. Okay, there is not even space for the steering wheel. So poor rally driver here is in million of pieces, is just a mist. It was a person, now it's just mist. But it is still a solid vehicle. It's also shifted the camera, that's nice. It's still a solid vehicle. Good handling, some understeer, keep that in mind, but it is fast and powerful, and also, most importantly, fun to drive. And now let's go and do some final crashes. And the chosen victim for the descent is the snow configuration with the 7-Up livery. I see even this time a lot of existing brands, so probably this livery existed somewhere, I'm not sure. I wouldn't put my hand on it, but maybe it existed, so that's interesting. And I didn't have a proper map for trying a snow configuration, so I tried it on a dirt configuration, and I had an awful experience. No grip whatsoever. So I took a look at the tires, and that's a thing I saw. To me, these are slick tires on a snow configurations, but if I go in the parts selector for wheels, it says snow rear. I am not sure if it's intended or it's a bug, but that was annoying. Now let's switch back while this car is okay, perfect. So keep that in mind if you want to try it on snow. I don't think these are the right tires. But anyway, I don't need particular tires to jump off a cliff. I want to fly a lot, okay? Ooh, pretty leveled flight, nice. Oof, big landing and fireball incoming, that's nice. Ooh, big hit on the driver's side. And also smaller hit, but very, very dangerous, and a lot of damage has been done to this car. Okay, no more cubes. Now let's see if it will fall off the ramp. Okay, skidding on the roof, so no more damage acquired on the sliding. And landed on the roof and finally on the wheels, that's nice. I can still see the shape of the car, which is good. And as you can see again in the rear pillar, some spiking on the roof as well. So overall, the model of the crash model is not the most polished, but it's still quite good and pretty solid. You can see the car is still quite in shape. Of course, that's big impact, but as you can see, I can still see a car. That's nice. And even if the crash was quite brutal on this vehicle, I have no vibrations and no jiggling, so that's good. Probably I was unlucky with that head-on collision with the wall. But anyway, this was the Toyota Celica GT4. Thanks for watching. Bye bye.